Hello, you are listening to the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer and Amazon #1 best-selling author. You can find out more about me and my work at catherinecarrigan.com and unlimitedenergynow.com. While you're there, definitely sign up for my newsletter so you can learn even more about how you can heal yourself naturally. Now, our guest today is Joanne Divine Life Yogini. Joanne Divine Life Yogini is a spiritual yoga teacher, and she is the author of a wonderful book called Dreaming of a Divine Life. She is also the host of the Great Awakening show here on UK Health Radio. So she's a fellow presenter on UK Health Radio, your global feel-good radio. And you can find out more about Joanne Divine Life Yogini at her wonderful work at her website, divinelifeyoga.co.uk. Welcome, Joanne.
Thank you for having me on your wonderful show.
Thank you. Now, Joanne, one of the things that you talk about is what you call the Great Awakening. What does the Great Awakening mean for you and for all of us?
Well, this time that we are living is really the greatest time to be alive. It has been prophesied. This Great Awakening time has been prophesied by the Mayans, by the indigenous cultures of the world, the Aborigines and the Indians. And it's been prophesied for centuries that a great awakening will come upon the people. And this is the beginning of this awakening process that every single person on this planet will be feeling and going through. And it's an awakening on all levels. It's a spiritual awakening. It's a physical awakening. It's an awakening in all systems of our society, grassroots, always governments, politicians, healthcare, pharmaceuticals, all of these ways, environment and education. It's in every single system. So as we go forward through this Great Awakening, of course, I believe as a spiritual yogini that this sort of like war, this battle really that's been going on has in the spiritual realms sort of been won by the realms of the goodness of the good. So as it comes down, it takes time to manifest into our physical plane, and this is causing chaotic events and shocking circumstances to be played out, which are awakening many people to the truth, because I believe that there have been many things that have been hidden from us, and we have not been told the truth about our history and about us, that we are divine, wonderful, amazing spiritual beings having an earth, a physical earth experience. And it's just really, for me, I see it the greatest time, because we're going to move out of this corrupt time that we've been living, move out of this darkness and into love and light and our new earth.
So Joanne Divine Life Yogini, what is it that you feel that we are awakening to?
We are awakening to the truth of who we are. So we're awakening to our divine self within. And this has been hidden. We have been suppressed and programmed for many years from societies that have been ruling, the ruling class, whoever you want to call the people. But really, this suppression of the divine self, and especially for women, the depression of the divine self, because of the male God that we've been under, the patriarchal rule, has really, I believe, done the worst detrimental harm to our society. So I believe because we're coming out of the Piscean age, which was looking outside of ourselves for a guru, looking outside of ourselves for a politician, looking outside of ourselves for God. We was always looking outside, but coming into this Aquarian age, which is the age of Aquarius, which is the awakening age, we are coming home to ourselves, and we are realizing that all these things are within ourselves. So going within, we find that the answers to our questions, we find that politician, we find that guru, we find that divine flame of God that exists within every single soul. It's the soul consciousness. It's the same soul consciousness that gives every being life upon this beautiful earth.
So that's a very interesting perspective. And I very much liken it to how I see things as a medical intuitive healer. Because Joanne, when I do a medical intuitive reading, I read what's going on in your physical body, on your energy body, which includes your chakras, the breath, and your acupuncture system, the emotional body, which is the largest part of you because emotions can shut down literally any process, your mind, which is your thoughts, your beliefs, your mental operating system, if you will. But I agree with you, you are a soul. And in my view, not that I'm right, not that I know anything, your soul controls your mind controls your emotions. So how we look at things, what we believe about things, what we think is happening, that controls our emotional reactions. And then our emotions control our energy. And then our energy system controls our physical body. So here at the Natural Healing Show, we talk about how to heal ourselves naturally. And it's my view that when we work at the spiritual level, when we nurture ourselves on the soul level, when we find the soul medicine that works best for us, whether it's laughter, sunshine, spiritual community, prayer, meditation, these are some of the most powerful natural healing remedies of all.
Yes, that's so true. And I believe that the body heals itself. We heal holistically, mind, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically. And I think that our society has been so, put into this way that there's only one way of healing, through physical pills and through this one element. They only physically, treat the body, when we are, a soul as well. So I just think that the new healings that are coming in, the energy healing, the medicines, earth medicines, all of these ancient ways that we used to heal ourselves are going to come back. And this is the true way of healing, because our body heals itself if we have our body in the right environment, if we treat it well, if we give it the nutrients, if we look after it, if we do our exercise, if we think in the correct way, then we will have an environment for perfect healing. And I just believe our body is so powerful, our mind, body, and soul, because that's what we're made up of. So it is so incredibly powerful.
Yes. And Joanne's audio has gone off. So Joanne and I are both yoga teachers, and
Bible.
Yes,
Hello?
Your audio just glitched out. So we
right.
hear what you just said. So
Yeah.
If you want to repeat your last couple of sentences, because we didn't hear what you said.
And so in the, many intuitives and people who have decoded the Bible have actually, it's amazing, because it truly is the story of our powerful human body. The 7 seals are the 7 chakras. Jacob's ladder is the spine, raising our kundalini, our chrism oil, from the root chakra up into the place of the pineal, to have the light of the world, which is enlightenment. So we are such powerful beings. And I have to say that as I've become so awakened, first of all, I was awakened spiritually. I've done 20 years of teaching yoga and meditation and, you know, healing in different forms and ways. But now I'm really, because I did that spiritually, we are human and we are divine. Are we not? We are spiritual, we are spiritual beings having a human life existence. So we have to have balance between our humanity and our divinity. And I truly believe that just by awakening spiritually, this is not you have to become a whole person. So we have to awaken spiritually, but we also have to awaken on this grassroots level, our humanity as well. And what has been really going on in our world, and how maybe, ruling elites or people that have, maybe not had our best interests at heart, have been keeping truths away from us about how powerful we really are, because we all have that creative goddess, divine flame within. And we're creators. We are made in the image of God, goddess. We are made in the image of the creator. So, and we can manifest. We heal ourselves. When we cut ourselves, our body heals. And we create. So I just think this is a phenomenal time. So much is being unearthed. So much is being discovered. So much is so many truths are being revealed. This is the time of revelation. The time of revelation.
So I agree with you, Joanne Divine Life Yogini. In my work as a medical intuitive healer, what I find is that because dis-ease, if you are ill, it's happening on all levels, not just physically, but energetically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. It's my experience that when we work on all 5 levels at the same time, you can supercharge your healing and get well really, really fast. But part of it is acknowledging that if I have a virus, it's happening on the soul level, on the mental level, on the emotional level, on the energetic level, and on the physical level. So let's take the example of a common cold. Like, we've all had a cold. And, if you think about what's happening physically, you cough, you sneeze, you feel tired, you need to eat chicken soup and lie in bed. On an energetic level, you feel exhausted, right? On the emotional level, you may feel discouraged, grief may come up, you may feel sad, a little bit depressed. And on the mental level, that being sick basically puts you in full stop mode so that you have time to reflect on what it is that you're thinking. And
yes,
right. So for example, and thoughts are quite powerful. So for example, one belief that we all want to examine right now is does everyone have to get COVID? Does everybody have to get sick right now? And when you believe that I can keep myself healthy, I can take the right actions, I can know where to be and how to act to keep myself healthy at all situations, right? And then on a soul level, what's happening? So again, how are we connected to this divine consciousness? And again, when you energize yourself, when you nurture yourself spiritually, you can get through incredibly difficult challenges. What I find is that when people don't have a strong spiritual foundation in their life, they don't have strong spiritual practices to sustain them, then when they go through major challenges, whether it's the loss of a loved one, or a death of a spouse, or a major personal illness, or a divorce, or a loss of a job, or major global conflict, when we don't have that strong spiritual foundation, we can feel like blown around by the wind and feel, really at loss, at a great sense of loss. But having that strong spiritual foundation, like you said, knowing who you are, knowing that you're a soul having a human experience, then you can connect to the earth, connect to your own spiritual purpose, ask divine guidance. What is my role at this time? How can I serve myself? How can I stay in my light? There's a wonderful Rumi quote, and I'm going to butcher it, but basically it's be a candle spreading light till dawn.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And so when we stay in our own light, we can share that. And,
that's right.
And if everyone will hang in there, and we're going to take a break to hear a word from one of our sponsors, and we will be right back. So Joanne, spiritual yoga teacher and author, how do you see what you view as this battle going on between the forces of light and dark? What is your view?
This has been going on since the dawn of time. And this is a good versus evil, a light versus dark battle that has been going on since the dawn of time. And I believe, and I've always been a yogini, and I've always been into the love and the light. And that was my spiritual journey. And then I came into my humanity, and the research that I've done, I've got to say that now I realize there is evil in this world. So there is good and there is evil, but we have to acknowledge this evil. So many people don't acknowledge this evil. And this is the good and the and the evil and the dark and the light. It mirrors, everything is a mirror. So what is out there in 3D is a mirror within us. We have that darkness and that light also within us. And I call that, in my new book that's coming out, I call that the dark goddess and the light goddess. Yeah, it's because, and it's the same as in a man, his light to God and his dark God. And it's all about us nurturing that darkness and looking at that darkness and embracing that darkness. You can't just pretend that it's not happening. You can't just not show this to anyone, because out there in the world, there is a lot of darkness and there is a lot of evil. And I believe that this Great Awakening time is because we are going through such a spiritual ascension time. It's bringing in the light from God, Goddess. It's bringing in the divine love light energy that is purging this darkness. And as the purging of the darkness happens, of course, it's going to bring it up into the realm, into our realm, and that makes chaos, and that makes you see the darkness. So all these things are being revealed because, as I said before, we're in the time of revelation, and there's going to be many shocking events that are going to come out even more, because it has to play out. It has to play out. People have to become awakened by this. People have to acknowledge and look at the darkness instead of pretending that it doesn't actually exist, because it does. And that is the same within us. Our eternal battle is with our dark ego. We are eternally a divine soul. Yeah, that's who we really are. But when we come into, first of all, we was in that oneness, the oneness of the spiritual world, heaven. Yeah, that's the oneness. Then, because we wanted to experience, we come down and we get born. That little spark of God, soul, gets born into this world of duality. Well, this world of duality is imperfect. It has light, dark, masculine, feminine, up, down, in and out, all of these, good, evil, all of this darkness. And that is why we have an eternal battle with our ego, and the darkness within. And that is why we are eternally seeking oneness, seeking to have that oneness that we had in the spiritual world, heaven. And this is what I call ascension or enlightenment. We don't have to wait until we die. to get back to that oneness. We can actually have this right now in our body now, but it's about doing our inner work, doing our practices, our spiritual work, going into our shadow self and looking at that darkness, looking at it, because when you acknowledge it, it's the darkness, the shadow is all the things we don't really want to show to others or acknowledge to ourselves. It's the mistakes we made. It's our habits. It's the things we want to change. But if we don't shine that light on it, we can never see it. And when you acknowledge it, that's when you begin to change, because it comes out into the open. You've brought it out, and then you can embrace that. And that is a part of you. So that's what I believe. This is a time of embracing our darkness.
So for our audience, I want to share a couple of insights and also a very quick energy healing technique that you can use in 30 seconds to address your own shadow. So Carl Jung, the great psychologist, wise man, he said, the only way to live in the light is by constantly knowing where your shadow is.
Yeah.
Now, as a medical intuitive healer, when I look at someone, I see their light and I also see their shadow. So, we're a whole person. And many people only see a person's shadow. They only see what's bad or evil about someone or out into the world. And then many people only see the light. So when we have a balanced view, we're able to see everything. So if you're unable to see the shadow, or if you want to learn how to see someone's shadow better, I'm going to teach you a technique right now that you can use anytime, anywhere to see someone's shadow. So first of all, what you do is you visualize yourself and the other person that you're wanting to have greater understanding about in a sacred temple. So this could be a church, a mosque, a synagogue, or a holy place. So you visualize yourself and the other person in this holy place. And then, just like when you were kids, you may have played hide and seek, you begin to visualize yourself looking around the column. So it's like I'm looking around and I'm looking around, because people hide their shadows. So as Joanne said, people don't want you to see their shadow selves, what they're really struggling with. And another word for your shadow is your ego. The ego wants to be right. We want to be glamorous. We want to be powerful, and yet people hide their shadow. So again, you visualize yourself in this holy place, and then you look around, look behind the columns and look around and just notice what you see, and notice how the other person's shadow presents to you. And as you see what you see, again, stay in your light, know that you don't have to fix anything. Now, here's a simple energy healing technique that you can do anytime, anywhere, because I have a shadow, you have a shadow, Joanne has a shadow, and yet at the same time, you are a soul, you're a powerful soul. When you do your work, whatever it is that you do, you want your higher self, your soul, to be in charge. You don't want your ego and your shadow to be in charge. So how do you get this shadow side to just take a seat, get out of the way? So there's a very simple little energy healing technique. And I'm going to remove my glasses in order to teach it. So this is my right hand. This is my left hand. If you take your left finger and you just simply draw a circle on your left temple, and it doesn't matter which direction I draw it. So it's in this soft spot next to my left eyebrow, for those of you are listening. So you just draw a circle in any direction in that soft spot on that left temple next to your left eyebrow, and then you draw an X through it. And as you do this, you're setting your intention. I want to set my shadow aside. So if I'm doing healing work in person, I clear that person's shadow so that I'm only in communication with that person's higher self. I'm not having an ego battle with them, and I'm working with them at the soul to soul level. and not the ego to ego level. So again, so take a moment when you're wanting to have a deeper understanding about anyone or anything, and visualize yourself in that holy temple. Look behind the columns and ask to be revealed and to see their shadow. And then every morning, clear your own shadow. And you're never going to get rid of your shadow. It's part of who you are. It's part of our humanity, but you can set it aside. And it's just like, okay, take a seat.
Yeah.
And let my soul lead me throughout this day.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I'm going to do my work from my soul perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So those are some things. And I want to share this because I was just doing healing work right before we did this recording, because many of us who live in the light, who are very sincere about wanting to do spiritual work, we can literally exhaust ourselves if we step into the rescuer role. So what do I mean by that? So Albert Einstein, who was kind of a brilliant guy, he was recognized as a genius of our time. He said the most important question is whether or not you consider the universe to be a friendly place. So if I look out into the world and I see, oh my gosh, this world is broken, it's damaged, evil is winning, that's me projecting my shadow out into the world. And it's going to have a very detrimental effect. I mean, if you believe that evil is losing, you're going to be depressed, you're going to feel hopeless, you're going to feel like, what's the use? So it's a spiritual practice to see others in the world as not broken.
Yes.
So I was just talking to my boyfriend about this last night, because I said, when you're a baby healer, you think it's all about learning techniques. So I'll be 63 this month. I've been doing my work in natural healing full time since I was 34. I've been this is my 27th year teaching yoga. So in the beginning, you learn all these techniques, and then you learn, this is part of, even more important than these techniques, is how I see others and how I see the world. So if I'm doing healing work with somebody and I see that person is broken or damaged, then that's going to affect how they feel about themselves. Versus if I see that person as whole and complete and exactly where they need to be on their spiritual path and having everything they need to move forward, even if it's just a phone number, even if it's just an intention, even if it's just a prayer in their heart. And when you see the world as whole, and having everything that the world needs for its spiritual purposes at this time, that's a whole different outlook. And so, because when you stay in the role of rescuer, trying to rescue others or fix the world, it's exhausting, right? And a simpler way of doing it is to stay in your light and focus on your light and do your spiritual practice. And your spiritual practice could mean collecting coats for people who've been fleeing Ukraine. It could mean giving a donation and sharing your wealth, but staying in your light and shining your light. So being that candle, spreading light till dawn.
Beautiful.
So Joanne, any comments about what I just shared there?
Yes, that's very important. I meditate every day, and when I go in, I just feel that divine love light energy of God, Goddess, and that elevates me so much. I can't get that in the 3D. I can't get it from food. I can't get it from alcohol, that I don't drink anyway, but I can't, or any drug, or even love. Yeah, I believe. And it's like when I go in, I feel myself up with that beautiful energy. And it's like, it just permeates every single cell of my body. And it just uplifts and it raises my vibration. So this is what we have to do. It's all about doing the things that raise your vibration. Now, there can be many things in the 3D. You don't have just to meditate. Many things, you know, putting on your favorite songs, dancing around your house, using your crystals, being with your pets, you know, listening to uplifting, of course, music. There are so many things that we can do to raise our vibration. But for me, meditation and prayer and meditation. You know, when I pray, I am asking, manifesting for putting my intentions out. But when I meditate, I am being quiet. I'm quietening my mind, going into that divine love light energy, and I am receiving that divine intelligence from my higher self, which is a part of God, goddess. So just having them minutes every day, it brings us back into alignment. That heart, mind, soul, that mind, body, soul brings us back into that alignment. And then we're ready for anything. And I'm telling you, I really believe that it really, having that connection really repels negativity so much, you know, as a spirit, you know, walking. And I think that's that is my protection. I feel it when I go out. Not that I need protection because I'm always smiling at everyone anyway. I never wore masks because that's just something that I didn't do. But I smiled at every single person, and no one will come up to me and say, why haven't you got that on? Because my energy of divine love coming from my heart gave it out in my smile. And I know that I helped everyone when they wanted to see a smile. So let's be thankful that everyone can see the smiles again, especially the children, you know, the young ones. They need to see the smiles of the mother. That's how they learn, you know. But this is the time, yes, raising our vibration, raising when you are feeling depressed, when you are feeling low. There are so many wonderful things that you can do to raise your vibration. And there are so many wonderful people on the internet that help you with wonderful guided meditations as well.
Beautiful message. And on that note, let's take a moment to listen to a commercial from one of our sponsors, and we will be right back with you. So for our audience, I'm going to give you a really simple little visualization, and that is to see yourself as a lighthouse. So during the time when, you know, we feel almost engulfed by darkness, whether it's the fear of the COVID-19 or worry and concern about the war and economic chaos, it's so easy to go into the vibration of fear, despair, hopelessness. But when you see yourself as a lighthouse, if you think about a lighthouse is grounded to the earth, and all it does is it shines its light. It's not fixing anything. It's not rescuing anything. All it's doing is shining its light. And when you shine your light, then everyone and everything can guide their own life and their own way by your light. So what is your light? It's your kindness. It's your smile. It's your spirituality. It's your compassion. It's your love. It's your friendliness. It's your acceptance of people just the way they are. It's your tolerance of the imperfect nature of life itself. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yes.
It's the radiance of your soul. It's your own inner beauty. Everyone needs beauty. If you think about flowers, they just naturally uplift. So Joanne, Divine Life Yogini, what does the dark night of the soul mean to you?
I believe we are here on this earth to evolve and to become aware and to become better souls, better people. and to have enlightenment eventually over the many lives. But I believe that the dark night of the soul is a time of when we come into a place where everything that we once knew collapses. So maybe your world collapses around you. So, your relationship dissolves, you get fired from your job, everything, because it's a time that you are of great change, a time of changing, a time of evolvement. And the dark night of the soul can be a very lonely time, because it's a very special time, because you're changing from that old person that you were, and you are having a spiritual enlightenment time, which is raising of your vibration, raising of your DNA. So I believe that it's a very, very tough time, and not many people understand about this dark night of the soul. But I think that we must embrace it. There's many stages as well of going through the dark night of the soul, and you will go through many times of, it can be very challenging, but then it can be very enlightening. And of course, it's all about the ego and the battle with the light and the dark within us, as we was talking about before. But I believe this time of this great awakening, I believe that the whole world is going through a dark night of the soul, because so many of these events that are happening, challenging events, it's the challenge and it's the contrast which awakens us, which forces us to the precipice. See, all these evil things, all these bad things that happen in our lives and in our world collectively, they force us to awaken. They force us to move. If they didn't happen, we would stay where we are. We wouldn't change. We wouldn't evolve. We would be going nowhere. We'd be stagnant. So the challenge is to, when it comes, to allow yourself to be awakened, to allow it to happen, to go within, to find out who you truly are. Because the dark night of the soul is about forcing you to come out of yourself so that you will know yourself. That's what I truly believe.
Great insight. Now, in my 10th book, Reading the Soul, I talk about this dark night of the soul. And another way of thinking about a dark night of the soul is a breakdown to a breakthrough. So when you see the structures of your life breaking down, you lose your job, you lose your marriage, you lose a loved one, you witness major losses in the world. What's happening, and again, it can be very frightening. You lose your what you thought of everything. You thought of everything as solid and foundational in your life. When you find yourself in this period when everything's breaking down, usually you feel all alone in the world. You usually feel depressed. Well, part of when you find yourself in one of those states, part of it is putting your finger on it and renaming it and saying, okay, this is really bad. Everything's falling apart here. I must be in a breakdown to a breakthrough. And even if you don't know what you're breaking through to yet, sometimes these old structures have to go away so that you find a new way of being in the world.
Yes.
So you find a new way of being in alignment with yourself. And, during these dark nights of the soul, many people, they would turn to traditional psychiatric medications. They would get on, antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications.
Alcohol, drugs.
Alcohol, drugs, which is completely understandable because these times are very unsettling. It's very anxious. It's, very depressing. It sucks, frankly. Okay. But again, once you realize what's really happening, is that your soul is leading the way, and that you're breaking through to a whole new way of being. So one of the ways that we can go about this is when you're in that dark night of the soul, asking yourself, what am I breaking through to? And it may be, I'm finding a way of living that's more in alignment with my true soul purpose. It may be,
Yes.
I'm discovering my soul purpose.
Yes. There's always the silver lining. This is for the good of your soul and your life. You're going to come out of this dark period and you are going to be renewed, re-energized. You're going to do things, wonderful things that you never even thought, possible. And that's what it is. It's like the butterfly in the chrysalis, that dark, dark place. And then as the butterfly comes out, the wings is so beautiful. It's so beautiful. So it's really, it's a wonderful blessing to go through that dark night of the soul and to come out the other side and recreate yourself anew.
Yes. And again, when you're in that darkness, you may not be able to see yet where you're going, what you're breaking through to, but just know it's happening. And I'm going to give you scientific research about this. There was a man named Ilya Prigogine, and he won a Nobel Prize for what's called chaos theory. And in order to, and this is very interesting, especially from a natural healing perspective, in order to reorganize at a higher level, you have to go into chaos. Now, a really good visualization of this, if you think about the average teenager, what the average teenager's room looks like. Oh my God, usually the average teenager, it's just like a bomb went off. It's just in total chaos. But when you're just like, oh my gosh, go clean that up. But when you realize, okay, if I'm in chaos, the greater chaos that you are in, or the greater chaos the world is in, that literally means, from a scientific Nobel Prize winning perspective, that you are reorganizing at a higher level, that the world is reorganizing at a higher level. And again, you may not see it yet, but once you reframe that in your mind and just realize, I'm breaking through, I'm reorganizing at a higher level, and you have to go into chaos, scientific research, in order to reorganize at that higher level.
Out of chaos comes order, always.
Yes, a new order, maybe a way of being in the world that, and of living your life that you have never ever thought about.
Exactly. It's always for your higher good.
Yes. Now, Joanne Divine Life Yogini, please describe for us how you see the future of humanity.
I see the future of humanity as an absolute celebration of living upon this beautiful, magnificent earth. I see us going back to a more simple way of life. I see big communities and going back to really not living in separate little boxes anymore. I see us coming back together in tribes, in communities, coming back together, living, within community for the good of all. I really do. I see that we're going to be going back to the land, to Mother Earth. I see us growing in these communities. I see us growing our own fruit and vegetables, beautiful, organically, that we've lost. I see us going back to the ways of our ancient ancestors, our brothers and sisters, how we healed ourselves from Mother Earth, how we grew our food from Mother Earth, and how we were self-sustainable with Mother Earth. I really believe this. And I believe children will be learning not in tiny little boxes with 100-year-old outdated curriculums that teach them nothing. I believe that they will be earth schools and they will be learning with Mother Earth. And yes, it's just going to be amazing.
You've been listening to the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer, Amazon #1 bestselling author. You can find out more about me and my work at catherinecarrigan.com and unlimitedenergynow.com. While you're there, definitely sign up for my newsletter so you can learn even more about how you can heal yourself naturally. Our guest today has been the one and only Joanne Divine Life Yogini, spiritual yoga teacher and author of the wonderful book, Dreaming of a Divine Life. And you can find out more about Joanne Divine Life Yogini at her website, divinelifeyoga.co.uk. And you can listen to her Great Awakening radio show here on UK Health Radio, fellow yoga presenter here at your global feel good radio. And remember, if you find yourself in a scary time where you feel like you're having a dark night of the soul, ask yourself, what am I breaking through to? What am I letting go of? What structures am I letting go of so that I can be in greater alignment with my soul and express my true soul purpose? And when you give yourself permission to let go of what no longer serves you and come into alignment with your soul purpose, you experience natural healing. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time.